On today's show, the Hawks entered Saturday night's game in a difficult spot on paper, but after 48 minutes, they came away with a 20-point victory at home against the Lakers. We'll get into how it transpired, the shorthanded nature of the team, and more coming up.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 2098 of the Locked On Hawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you deep into the night here on a Saturday evening into Sunday. And today's podcast is brought to you by the folks at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. We'll be diving in today to what became a 122-102, yes, a 20-point victory for the Hawks at home against the Lakers. And if you were following the discourse heading into this game, that may not be the most shocking outcome in the world. It's an NBA game. It happens. All that stuff. All that said, it was a very interesting back and forth pregame, and then the game was a lot of fun, honestly, for the Hawks. Now, it was not the most well-played game in the world, but certainly Atlanta took full advantage of this one and came away with a very comfortable win, leading by as many as 30 points in the second half of this game. Now, coming into the night, it was a depleted roster, to say the least, for the Hawks. They ended up with actually 5 of their top 9 players not participating in this game, including their top 2 scorers and top 2 players coming into the season, and Trae Young and Jalen Johnson. Obviously, Trae Young, everyone knows, is out for at least 4 weeks with the knee injury. No surprise there. Luke Kennard missed the game on Friday with an illness, missed this game as well with an illness. No surprise there either. But then there were 3 more additions to the injury report on Saturday. Jalen Johnson suffered a right quad contusion during the game on Friday, the loss to Toronto, and he was questionable coming in but could not play in this game. Nickeil Alexander-Walker was questionable as well, could not play as a result of a lower back issue. And by the way, that ends a consecutive game streak of 195 games in a row for Nickeil. Unfortunate there, obviously. That was the 3rd longest streak in the league, but he's very durable. Hopefully there's nothing that's going to linger there with Nickeil. And then Porzingis also did not play in this game. For me, not a surprise at all. I came into the season and shared on the podcast several times my projection that he wouldn't play back-to-backs for the most part. And the Hawks have never announced that in full, but that was my assumption all along, and it will be that assumption until they change that on some level. In the end, it was actually listed as rest. There was some illness management listings at one point for the Hawks. Needless to say, got a lot of questions about that. Look, what I would just say about Porzingis is that they're not going to play him back-to-backs till we see something different. All that said, a lot of guys out for the Hawks in this game. And a lot of the reaction, I get why. I really do. I'm not poking fun at anybody about this, but there was a lot of reaction pregame for people that were asking questions and making comments about how the Hawks were basically drawing dead, or if they were kind of punting this game. I got a question about that several times. And look, it's the NBA. My example pregame that looks even better now was that the Hawks won a game last year on the road in Chicago in which their 2 leading scorers were Daquan Plowden and Keaton Wallace. Things happen in the NBA. Nothing is ever assured. I say that all the time on the podcast. If you're a new listener, you won't know that, but if you're a recurring listener, you definitely will. Yes, there are projections. The point spread's a good indicator. It matters who's playing on both sides. Both sides. These guys are all professionals, and there's a lot of variance that happens in the NBA over the course of a long season. And also, I pointed this out, our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, our sponsor on this podcast, actually had the Hawks as a smaller underdog tonight, even with all those guys out, than they were only 6 days prior in Cleveland. So I try to drive this home pregame. No, I was not projecting a 20-point win for the Hawks. I would be lying if I said that I was. But there was every reason to believe the Hawks could be competitive at the very least in this game, even though they were shorthanded, because, look, the Lakers, yeah, they have Luka. Luka's really good. But the rest of their roster in a world without LeBron and without Austin Reeves is not particularly impressive, and they played very poorly in this game, and the Hawks played very well in this game. So big picture, an awesome win for the Hawks. It was a very fun performance. Honestly, the Hawks are now 5-5. This, for me, was the most fun night for the Hawks this year. Part of that was probably because the projections were lowered on the team coming in. Part of that was the way they played in this game. They played fast. They played decisively. They played effectively. They moved the ball. They defended. High energy. A lot of highlight plays. It was a fun game to watch for the Hawks. And also, does it tell you anything huge for the future? Probably not. But it does tell you that this is a resilient bunch. This is a talented team They had better depth this year than they have in previous years. Guys that we'll talk about later on in the podcast, from Gueye in particular, Dyson Daniels, even Asa Newell, guys played well and should deserve their flowers in this game. But overall, it was a fun one. That's my big takeaway. But also, the Hawks needed a win. It was nice to have this win to kind of not necessarily erase the loss on Friday, a game that they probably should have won against Toronto, but certainly to get the sour taste out of their mouth. Now they're going on the road for a long time. Getting this win for vibe's sake is a lot of fun, and everybody was in a good mood after the game for obvious reasons. As for the more analytical side of things, the Hawks were good on both ends of the floor in this game. They had a 124 offensive rating in this spot. Even with a shaky garbage time led fourth quarter, they shot 51% from the field in this game, 41% from three on 39 attempts. They shot it great in this game. And there were some outlier shots where myself and Kevin Chenard on press row were kind of laughing about some shots that went in that probably weren't the best shots in the world. So yes, sometimes you're just going to run good, and the Hawks, sometimes they don't run good. That's what happens. There's a lot of variance that goes on, but the Hawks did run well in this game as far as getting a little bit fortunate, but they also played well. Both can be true at the same time. The big number offensively, 37 assists on 48 field goals. That's a crazy high number. They had every starter, all five, had at least 4 assists. Dyson had a career high with 13 assists. Keaton had 7. Gueye, career high, with 7 as well. The ball moved really well in this game. Obviously, you got to make shots, but Quinn talks about being very happy with the collective offensively. He praised Dyson's individual performance on offense. I would definitely agree with that. But the Hawks played very well and moved the ball and took advantage in full of a Lakers defense that was quite bad, I have to say. Now, I'm not saying that to rain on the parade of Hawks fans at all. It's my job to be objective and try to pass along what I saw. I have some friends that I would say are close-ish to me who cover the Lakers regularly, and they were insistent to me that it's been pretty good defensively at times for the Lakers this year. Tonight, it was really, really bad. And again, to their credit, the Hawks took full advantage of that. They were exploiting the weaknesses of LA's defense, lots of attacking the rim, 62 points in the paint in this one, lots of good stuff offensively, even though it's worth noting that defense was not ideal, I would say, for LA. But in the end, 7 guys in double figures for the Hawks. Nobody exploded other than Gueye with 21, but lots of consistency. I thought Dyson, again, was awesome running the show offensively as the de facto point guard in this spot, even play next to Keaton a lot. So thumbs up for the offense. They played very well in this game on that end of the floor. Defensively, they were also really good too, for the most part. They had a 103 defensive rating. I think the plan coming in was to kind of let Luka not necessarily get his, but certainly not get everybody else easy buckets. And Luka he kind of did get his. He got 22 points, 11 assists in 27 minutes. They never put him back in the second half. He was just fine. He was, he's a good player. He wasn't awesome for him. And of course, everyone was referencing the previous outing where he played in Atlanta last and had 70 plus points. But with that said, everybody else was under control, other than maybe Jake LaRavia, who I thought played pretty well for the Lakers. No one else was notable really at all for Los Angeles on offense in this game. And the Hawks forced a ton of turnovers with their ball pressure. They exploited the fact, honestly, that the Hawks knew, I think, nobody else could beat them on the Lakers roster. And I think my friend Kevin Chenard also pointed this out, asked about it post-game. They also came in with a good plan to not foul Luka. Luka is a league-leading level foul drawer and foul baiter, and the Hawks fouled him only 3 times. Only 6 free throw attempts for Luka in the game. Huge factor there. And the Hawks took only 11 offensively, which is not enough, but they only allowed 20. That's a good number on that end of the floor. The biggest thing beyond that, other than not fouling, was that they had 20 takeaways that led directly to 36 points. That's a huge swing in a game like this to make life easier on your offense too. Coming in, look, we can be objective. The talent the Hawks had offensively in this game was not exactly prime talent. There were not a lot of lineups that I would say over the full sample size of a season would be able to score at a league average level or better, given the fact that they were missing a lot of their shot creation in this game. So what do you do to kind of juice that? What you do is defend your butt off and get turnovers and run. And the Hawks are able to do a lot of that across the board. 22 fast break points, 36 points off turnovers in the same game. They did a lot of things well, and that included that. Also, they averaged a full 2 points per possession off steals. So they had 13 steals that led to 26 points. That is obviously very, very good, both in how many of you graded and how efficient you were from there. The one kind of semi-negative thing was the defensive glass. But even then, there were some rough moments, but they had one of their top 3 defensive rebounding games of the season by the numbers in this one as well. So not a whole lot to pick on. Honestly, the Hawks were very good in this game. It was very fun. Later on in the pod, I'll play some audio for you because Gueye was a standout. I think this might be Gueye's national coming out party. Obviously, Hawks fans have known for a little while that Mo is a very interesting player, a very talented player with some high upside. But I think because they were playing the Lakers tonight, for example, they'll get more attention. He was awesome in this game. Dyson was awesome in this game. A lot to get to, but in the end, a really good win for the Hawks because they're going on the road now for 4 games on the West Coast. It's never easy, but to bank a win tonight, get back to 5-5, and do it while shorthanded. That was a fun one at the office for the Hawks on this Saturday evening. All right, more to come in a second when it comes to how this game unfolded, my player-by-player capsules, takeaways, etc., after a word from our partners. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win. Not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening. Beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. You can trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood's Legends advanced tools. Or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Basketball is here. Nothing beats being in the arena for these opening games or really any game this season. Let's be real, though. Buy tickets can actually be kind of a headache sometimes. It's when waiting in queues, surprise fees, and press to jump up right before the actually end of the process at the checkout screen. It's easy to get frustrated sometimes when it comes to buying tickets because all you want to do in the end is just cheer on your favorite team in person, and that is where game time comes in. It's the app that gives you fans the advantage in buying tickets. It's the ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets, fast, easy, and stress-free. I used them actually recently to help look for some seats for a friend of mine. It could not have been any simpler or easier. I found great seats in just minutes. And at game time, I love the actual what you see is what you're going to pay with no hidden fees at the checkout process. Plus, you can actually see exactly what your views going to look like inside the arena or the venue of any kind before you actually buy the tickets with their in-app seat view feature. Their zone deals are also a game changer as well. Pick the section, it actually buys the tickets for you, and you can save big money. And you can find NBA tickets right now for less than $25. That's a big-time bargain. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets right now with the folks at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That code is LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. All right, before we dive back into the game itself, I want to encourage you to make Locked On Hawks your first listen each and every day. Check out the show, tell your friends, subscribe, and I appreciate you being here as always. We'll dig in right back now with how this game unfolded. The Hawks scored early and often in this one. They scored on 7 of their first 8 possessions. That's always helpful, especially when you were kind of playing behind the 8 ball a little bit. A hot start after the way the Hawks have started some games this year is also very positive as well. Gueye was the big story early on. He scored on 4 consecutive possessions at one point in the first quarter, hit 2 threes. He had his career high was threatened and then finally passed at the end of this one. Mo had a big game offensively for the Hawks in this game. I mentioned this before, but I think the Hawks were very clearly coached to not foul Luka early on. That was confirmed post-game by, I believe it was Asa Newell or maybe Mo Gueye. One of those two guys talked about how they were kind of coached not to do that after Kevin Sharp asked about it. But they were pretty careful to contest on some threes, largely when to kind of concede the step backs in this game, for example. It was probably the right plan coming in, especially when shorthanded. They were up by as many as 13 in the first quarter. They were up by 8 at the end of the quarter after a 3 by Veet at the end of the period. They shot it really well. They had 4 threes in the first quarter and only had 1 turnover. That was big. Ball security was big in this game all the way through. No easy stuff for the Lakers and runouts, and that was important. Now, rotationally, there was some suspense on this one because of who was not available. I already listed out at the beginning of the podcast, but 5 of the top 9 unavailable for the Hawks. So that kind of leaves you with not a ton of optionality. They had 10 guys available in total in this game. The only guys I was 100% confident were going to play off the bench. By the way, Keaton Wallace started this game, which was not a surprise to me. Vit Krejci and Asa Newell. That top 7, the starters, including Keaton, which was Wallace, Daniels, Richeche, Gueye, and Okongwu, plus Krejci and Newell. I was sure those 7 were going to play in this game. The only guy who also played other than those 7 was Caleb Houston, who played his first meaningful minutes for the Hawks. He played 19 minutes in this game. I thought, honestly, that they probably would play 9. I thought Toppin would play. They recalled him from the G League after he played in Toronto last night. But neither Toppin nor N'Faly Dante got into the game in the non-garbage time portion. So it was really an 8-man rotation, and that worked out very well for the Hawks, I will say. I had to kind of laugh. There was a possession or 2 or 3 early in the second quarter with a Keaton Wallace, V. Krejci, Caleb Houston perimeter trio. That is not what you want to see. But, and what I said before about the Lakers, the Lakers were putting out a lineup of the backcourt of Bronny James and Nick Smith Jr. in the same time. So even though the Lakers were closer to full strength, they missed some guys too. The benches were not terribly different in this game, which might sound crazy, but it really wasn't. Like, Maxi Kleber got in for them late, but, when you're playing against Dalton Connect, Nick Smith, Bronny James, and Jackson Hayes, that's a pretty, third kind of team level unit. And the Hawks really weren't at a disadvantage, even though that you probably would have thought they would be coming into the game. Houston also played really well beginning this game. He actually had 8 points quickly for the Hawks in his first real minutes. Again, as a reminder, he's a real shooter, and that showed up in this game with the way he was being defended. Dyson had an awesome kind of filthy move off the dribble to kind of push the lead to 15 mid-quarter. Luka did some stuff in the way that he does. But the Hawks did hit, I thought this was actually big. The Hawks hit 2 threes in the last 2 possessions of the first half to get the lead back to 14 at halftime. That was pretty much pivotal, I think, for me. The Hawks hit 8 threes in the first half. They had 21 assists, including 8 from Dyson in the first half, a career high for him in any half of his career. They were excellent in that first half. But I will say there was a little bit of fear in the third quarter. They came out and had a pretty ugly start. They turned the ball over twice. They gave up 2 offensive rebounds in a row, and then suddenly the lead was down to 9 pretty fast. And if there was ever a danger zone moment in this game, it was probably right then. I was like, all right, it might be cooling off a little bit. But then, to their everlasting credit, the Hawks had a huge response, and really the entire game swung on this run in the third quarter. A 22-4 run by Atlanta to go from up 9 to up by 27. And at that point, the game's basically over. Now, not entirely over, but certainly you are in full and utter control at that point in time. At the beginning of that run, there was a nice drive by Dyson that finished it at the rim. Mo hit his 4th 3 in a row. They also forced 6 turnovers in the first 6 minutes of the third quarter. That was a massive stretch. And at that point, also, the Hawks could not miss a 3. They were 12 of 23 from 3 at that point in time. The rest of the game, they were 4 of 16. But at that point, they were shooting 52% from 3. That's usually quite helpful when you are behind the 8 ball again. But Mo had an absurd stretch in the third quarter. He was kind of just wrecking things on offense and defense in a good way on both ends of the floor, flying around, using his length, etc., just playing fantastic basketball. And again, that was basically the end of the game. I would always stress it's never over, even at that point in time, up 27, but they were in control. And the lead was between 24 and 30 for most of the fourth quarter. Luka never came back in the game. The Hawks did play the same 8 guys till the last 3 minutes of the game, which is a little bit strange. It was down to 21 at one point, and then it got down to 20 in garbage time. It did kind of prompt Quinn to play guys like Dyson and Okongwu more than I would have wanted to in the fourth, but it was never in doubt. To be very clear, never at any point in the third quarter beyond. Once that run happened, it was not contentious from that point forward, which was encouraging for the Hawks. But there were some good moments in the second half. The fourth quarter did hurt the overall margins on some of the advanced numbers. They lost the fourth quarter, which is not important in any way, shape, or form, but they did play well. I would say capital W well for about 3.5 quarters. The fourth quarter was less so impressive, but that was not a concern in this game. And by the way, while I'm here, the Hawks had, we'll get to the players in a second. The Hawks had so many career highs in this game. Just as a sample size here, Mo Gueye had new career highs in points, assists, and he tied for a new career high in threes with 4. Dyson Daniels, new career high in assists and a half with 8, assists in a game with 13 for Dyson. Asa Newell, new career high in 17 points, new career high in 4 steals. They had so many things that they did well in this game that guys were, granted, some of that's opportunity. I get that, but they were flying around, playing well, and it was fun to watch. All right, in a second, I'll dive into my player-by-player evaluations in this game after a word from our partners. The NBA is here. There's no better place to get on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. If you actually missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything, actually who's going to score next, 2 fourth quarter comebacks, and much more. Plus, you can combine your live bets together if you want to into a single parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. On top of that, they have all kinds of bet types that you can think of across the board, from point spreads to over-unders, money lines, game props, player props, future bets, and so much more. And they cover all the sports that you love as well. That includes the NBA. Talk about that all the time on this podcast. There's a wide-ranging menu on the NBA, but they also have the NFL, college basketball, college football. They have baseball when it's in season, of course, hockey, soccer, golf, tennis, NASCAR, F1, boxing, MMA, and so much more. Plus, it's really easy to use FanDuel, and they're fast to pay out when you win as well. They keep every game more exciting at FanDuel, especially when your team's making that huge late push in the game. And right now, FanDuel's also giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins at FanDuel. So the place to go and head to right now is FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Have your health or family needs changed lately? Georgia's got you covered. Georgia Access is our state's marketplace for Georgia to compare, apply, and enroll in health insurance plans that offer the best value for their individual needs. Open enrollment is happening now. Visit georgiaaccess.gov today. That's georgiaaccess.gov. Georgia Access, health insurance for Georgia by Georgia. All right, to the player-by-player evaluations in this game, and a whole lot of good, as you might expect, in a 20-point win for Atlanta. I mentioned before, Toppin and Dante didn't really play until the game was over. Toppin did score 4 points in the last 3 minutes, but that was kind of it. I would have probably tried Toppin, but obviously can't complain too much about the way these things went for the Hawks in this game. And he was coming off a back-to-back with his individual travel, probably on a commercial flight, so tough spot for him. But as soon as I will say this, as soon as they called up Toppin, I thought almost certainly Jalen would miss the game, and that happened in this game. To the guys who actually did play, Caleb Houston, 19 minutes, his first rotation role for the Hawks, 8 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, a foul, 1 turnover, 1 block. The shooting is the big appeal with Caleb Houston if you're not familiar with his game. The rest of it's kind of not terribly impressive, but he is a wing-size player who can shoot, and that was very useful in this game for spacing and kind of flow reasons. He was aggressive early on. That was very helpful. Beat Krejci, 17 points off the bench. It took 14 shots. He was actually 4 of 5 on twos, but 2 of 9 from 3. 3 rebounds, an assist, 3 fouls. Veet had some bad misses from 3 in this game, but I actually like that he was aggressive. Veet's had kind of a rough season so far, but I think that on a night like tonight, he's going to have to take shots, and he did. And he wasn't great, but I thought he was totally fine. Moved the ball reasonably well. Had some bad moments, but some good playing time to kind of get his legs underneath him in this game. Asa Newell was a hugely positive story. 17 points on 12 shots for Asa in 27 minutes, 5 rebounds, 2 fouls, 4 steals, a career high there. I asked about Asa post-game to Quinn, and he talked extensively about how Asa's been living in the gym. In fact, he talked a lot about Mo and Asa in this way, about how they're in this breakfast club where they're doing extra work, and Asa was open about that post-game as well. I thought he was really effective. There are still some moments defensively for Asa where it's like, oh yeah, he's a rookie. And that's totally fine, totally and utterly fine, expected. But I thought he gives them good energy for sure. The offensive game is varied for a young guy. I think there's a lot of intrigue, of starter level upside from Asa Newell, which is all you want from a number 23 pick in the draft. A lot of positives there for sure. I will also say, and I'm not meaning this negatively at all, but when he plays well, you start to get calls they should play on even when they're fully healthy. And I mean this with due respect to Asa. I don't see how that's supposed to happen when everyone's healthy. And again, not everyone's going to be healthy all the time. For example, Porzingis is going to miss some time. That's going to happen. He's already missing back-to-backs, etc. You'll get an ankle turn here, whatever. There will be time for Asa to play. I'm saying when everyone is available, there are 4 bigs ahead of him. That's just the reality. And usually you're not playing 5 bigs in a game. Just to say who the 4 guys are, Jalen, Mo, Onyeka, and Porzingis are all obviously ahead of Asa, which is totally fine for a 20-year-old rookie. It's okay. Be excited for sure. He played really well tonight. He's excited. He's an exciting player. I like him quite a bit. Just more of a long-term thing than a short-term thing right now for the Hawks. But it's nice to have the guy kind of fill in and give you real minutes when you need it. To the starters, Keaton Wallace, 36 minutes. That's a lot for him. 14 points, 7 assists, though. I thought Keaton played well, honestly. He took a couple of shots inside the arc I didn't love, but he took 8 threes. I like that. He was aggressive. Good passing game for Keaton. He was plus 20, played good defense. I thought it was a nice indicator. I gave this stat pregame on social media, but Keaton last year, I think played 5 or 6 times. He played 30 minutes or more, and it was always these spots where the Hawks were decimated by injuries. But Quinn does trust Keaton to play big minutes when they are in need of him doing that, which is basically when Trey and more guys are out. That's what's going to happen for Keaton. He was totally fine in this game. I poked plenty of fun at Keaton playing when there was 100% health early in the season. I stand by that, but this is why there's a lot of appeal in Keaton. When you need him, he can go out there and defend. Quinn praised his defense tonight. I think that was probably correct. The offensive skills are not always the best, but he can do a lot of things for you, and I thought he was a genuine bright spot in this game. The other 4 guys were kind of the general 4 core-ish pieces that played in this game. They all played well. Reece Shea, 19 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 turnover, plus 18. He was 4 of 7 on 2s, 3 of 7 from 3. He was aggressive, hunting his shot. Love to see that. He played less than the rest of them. I know Hawks fans hate that. It didn't bother me too much in this game because there was a lot of garbage time to be played. Like, I think he would have ended up around 30 minutes if this game mattered. That's plenty for Zach. It's not crazy low. I think they do want to keep an eye on him, generally speaking, as a young guy on a back-to-back. But I thought he played fine, played well, aggressive, some nice moments around the rim, even hit 3 threes, and a positive night for Zach. Okongwu, 12 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, plus 22. He missed 3 threes. It's funny. Okongwu, I don't think was like great in this game, but it's a reminder that when he's going good, like it's really going to be good. Like, for example, Okongwu is an elite finisher, and he was not finishing at an elite level in this game. So if he just made his normal allotment of shots around the rim, he might have had 20-plus points. But I think he rebounded pretty well. He defended really well. The 5 stocks speak for themselves. Played well in this game. Nothing really to complain about too much there. I'll get to Mo Gueye last and talk about Dyson Daniels first. Dyson Daniels, 10 points, 13 assists. That's a career high for him. 8 rebounds, had a steal, 2 turnovers only. That's good for him. 5 from the floor, plus 16. Dyson also, for the record, now has the sole possession of the Hawks franchise record for the most consecutive games with a steal. 62 games in a row with a steal. That breaks the record set by Doc Rivers previously. That's a top 10 mark in the history of the NBA, so nothing small there. That's obviously a great thing. Offensively, though, Dyson was really good in this game. In total control, the passing, the ball handling, getting to the paint, breaking the paint, spraying out the shooters. Like, he could have had 16, 17 assists, honestly, with the way he was passing in this game. So love to see that. He's playing with confidence. And those first week struggles offensively seem to be like long gone at this point. And you love to see that from Dyson, a guy that I have certainly been quite high on along the way. Now, I'll get to Mo Gueye. But first, here's actually something I wanted to play for you, audio and video-wise. John Hollinger of The Athletic asked the question about Mo to Quinn Snyder postgame, and here's what Quinn had to say about Mo after the question from John.
Quinn, this game by Mo Gueye tonight, I mean, compared to where he was a year ago, like what's allowed him to break out like this?
I think a couple of things. One, I think the work that he's put in before practice. You know, he's one of a number of guys that, you know, basically go through a pre-practice with, you know, a group of our coaches that have put a group of players together, and they just work. And they work on the right things. They work on playing together. And I think he's become more and more instinctive. You know, you can tell he's kind of settled in, or the game's moving slower for him offensively. And he, you know, defensively, he's just unique. Some of the versatility that he has, but I don't think it's magic. You know, he's been hungry. You know, he wants to get better, and he's putting the time in. And, you know, games like tonight, he gets even more opportunity to do that, obviously, on the floor. And, you know, it's like I've said before with Jalen and Onyeka and KP, we're really trying to find as many minutes for Mo as we can, and he's deserving of that. But he's working is the short answer to the question. He's just putting time in, getting better. And you guys don't get to see it all the time, obviously, but, you know, when it comes out like a game like tonight, you know, he should feel great. And frankly, the guys on our staff that are spending a lot of time with him, encouraging him and showing him film and teaching him. But it's fun to do that when you got a player that's a sponge.
So obviously, Mo was awesome in this game. You heard that from Quinn. Clearly a credit to him, the way he has developed, like Quinn said in that answer. But also, like, you know, Mo just played great in this game. 21 points, a career high for Mo. 7 rebounds, not a career high, but 7 assists is a career high for Mo. There was some jokes late in the game, late post-game, about how Mo hit this floater in the first quarter, and that was seemingly a new thing. I know Quinn got asked about it. I know that I think Dyson did as well. That's a new shot for Mo, and I think they all kind of laughed about that, like something he's been working on apparently. But overall, big picture, Quinn used the word unique about Mo's defense. That's the thing. I think offensively, this is kind of an outlier good night for Mo. He's not going to do this all the time. He was 4 or 5 from 3, for example, and he came into the night shooting 27% in his career and also for the season. So, like, hold on that point. But defensively, he really is like a game-wrecking player, and that's already been evident. Quinn, I actually was glad he got to this. There are some challenges in trying to play Mo more. It's easy to say play Mo 30 minutes a game. You got to find that minutes from somebody else. And like there are guys that they're considering, like he talked about Jalen Onyeka and Porzingis. But I do think that even when Trey comes back, even when they're full strength, all those things that if it takes playing Jalen threesome to get Mo on the court more, that makes total sense to me. He's playing really well. I think, by the way, we can now officially announce that Mo Gueye is the best second-round pick the Hawks have made in 12 years. Like, the last time the Hawks had a rotation player that was drafted in the second round was Mike Muscala in 2013. Mo is now officially stamped ahead of that. I think he was probably already there before tonight, but certainly tonight was a breakout game for him. He was awesome, though, and certainly was the bright spot. But, he was not alone being a bright spot. I think basically everyone, other than Okongwu and Veet maybe, everyone else was like solidly above their projected baseline in this game. And that's kind of the formula for being a 20-point win in a game where you were supposed to be, 6-point underdogs in this one, as they were. So overall, awesome night at the office of the Hawks. No qualms about that whatsoever. And 5-5 doesn't sound great, but when you factor in the Trey injury, tonight's injuries, the schedule, all that, 5-5 is not terribly bad by any means at this point through 10 games. Now, from here, there is no rest for the weary whatsoever for the Hawks. In fact, they're flying to Los Angeles on Sunday morning to begin a 4-game road trip and play the Clippers on Monday night in LA. The Hawks only have 2 games this year that tip off at 10:30 Eastern time. One of them is Monday. So Clippers-Hawks is a 10:30 game, which probably means 10:40 on Monday. That'll be a late one, but have no fear. If you need to go to bed, I get it. I'll be here. I'll be up, recording, breaking it all down for you. So please subscribe to the podcast. I'll have that post-game podcast as I always would on the show. With that said, that's all I have today on the pod. Please subscribe, generally speaking, anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Follow the show on X/Twitter at Locked On Hawks. Follow me there if you want to at BT Rowland. Follow me on Blue Sky at BT Rowland. And follow my non-podcast coverage of the Hawks at patreon.com/BT Rowland. All right, everybody, that's all I have for today. We'll see you at the very latest after the game on Monday evening into Tuesday.